Kuber is a simple way to deploy your applications on Kubernetes. You have the simplicity of a platform, like Heroku for example, at the cost of infrastructure. By deploying an infrastructure instead of using a platform, you can save up to 80% on server cost. You have also freedom to move between providers, and you have total visibility on your application. Kuber is an automation tool that makes it easy to publish your application on Kubernetes. You just need a single command, kuber deploy. The configuration of your application in production is described with a single file, which is called kuber file. It is made of a few lines of code. This is all you need in order to deploy your application in production. Kuber has a simple, intuitive configuration. For example, you can define processes like a web server, or background workers, or any other type of processes. You can also define environment variables and secrets, cron jobs, migrations, and much more. Let's see how it works. First, you need to create a new Kubernetes cluster on your provider of choice. Then, download the kubeconfig. This allows us to connect to the cluster. Here we have a demo application, a Rails application, that is running on localhost and that we want to deploy in production. All we need to do, once we have a Kuber installed on our machine, is to create a Kuber file in the root folder of our application. This Kuber file describes the app name, where to get the source code. It can be a Git repository or a local path in this case. How to build our application. For example, in this case, we use Cloud Native Build Packs, which is the same strategy used by Heroku, but we can also provide a Docker file if we prefer. Here we set how to connect to our Docker repository and where to store the image of our application. The kubeconfig describes how to connect to our Kubernetes cluster. Proc defines the processes to run in our cluster. For example, in this case, we have a web process that is scaled to 4 replicas. And we also define some environment variables that are specific to Rails in this case. But we can really deploy any kind of application using Kuber. Okay, once we have defined the Kuber file, we just type kuber deploy. This starts cloning our code and builds our application. This may take some time to complete, a few minutes, and it also generates all the configuration for Kubernetes and applies it to our cluster. Once the deploy is complete, we can simply type kuber info . This command shows us information about our running application. In this case, we can see that we have 4 replicas for the web process. We have our environment variables, and we have the public IP that we can use to test our application. Let's copy the public IP. And here we have our running application in production on Kubernetes. Please check out kuber.cloud for more information and technical documentation.